Hello world! I am Curtis Simpson, and this is Jectives Typography News number 63. Today is Sunday, July 19th, 2026, and per usual, I have plenty of typography news to get into for you today. We have two feature stories today, one about Type Electives, one about the Type Founders, one upcoming event from Letterform Archive, new releases from 7 foundries. I almost said 7 new releases. There's actually more. There are multiple coming from one foundry. Two deep dives today. We've got the two big deep dives. We're looking at CC Timeline from CC Type, and we're looking at Catedra from DualType. After that, I've just got a couple of videos to send you off to, 2 or 3 videos to send you off with. I hope you'll have a good week after that. Today's video is sponsored by FontBase. Today's episode sponsored by FontBase. Talk about that later. For now, let's get into the featured stories. I am going to switch my screen and we will get started with the, not that, with the Type Elective story. So I saw this on typo.social. If you don't know, typo.social is the Mastodon server for type nerds like you and I. Flavia Zimbardi is one of those type nerds, and she posted, excited to be guest curating and moderating this fall's Type Electives lecture series, and I'm not gonna lie, the lineup is fire. I'm truly in my element, bringing people and ideas together. More soon. More soon is today. The rest of the world will find out about this on Tuesday. You, dear viewer, will find out about this today because I emailed Flavia and requested a comment and received one. So I was very pleased with, I was very grateful that she did entertain my request for comment. Just for anyone that's been around, I was critical of Type Electives curator position and the stipend and stuff like that. I addressed that in the next episode, but I also did talk to Flavia about that, and I don't think that it's something worth discussing now, but I just wanted to point out that yes, I did ask her about that. Yes, she finds a higher purpose beyond the stipend, and the opportunity to shape this conversation is more important to her than the money. So I think she's managed to put together a very impressive selection. Let me show you the 2 questions that I did ask that we will get into. Number 1, what will the theme be? Because that's the big theme. All of these lecture series have a theme. Maybe I should have given you this to start with, which is Type Electives. Type Electives, if you don't know, they do offer courses that are paid and stuff like that, but they also do these quarterly lecture series. Or maybe they do them twice a year because this says spring. I'm not sure. So there's a spring lecture series and there's a fall lecture series, and this is the spring lecture series that's on here right now. You can go watch the replays on YouTube. Really cool. Every time there is a curator that does this, and this year, like we just discussed, is going to be Flavia. So I asked, what is your theme? And these are her quotes on here. In Zilvertype, my stuff is just in Roboto up there. So Flavia answered, the theme is who builds the future, and we'll explore how designers are responding to a fast changing type industry. I think that's a question haunting a lot of us these days, and I want to spotlight the people actively thinking outside the box, moving beyond making typefaces to shaping infrastructure by building platforms, new distribution models, publishing initiatives, and alternative business models. I think that's interesting. I think a lot of type designers or just creatives in general are very much focused on the creative and tend to just pretend like they're not running businesses. So I think that that'll be interesting conversations to be had, interesting theme for sure. And looking into the future, I think a lot of people are very, I don't know, is despondent the right word? A lot of people are very worried about the future in terms of creatives and AI and what our role is in that. So I think it'll be a great theme. Even more so when you see the speakers. So I said, can we get any preview of the topics or potential speakers you've curated? Because this is the other role of the curator. Obviously, this is the main role, theme and curating the speakers. And Flavia replied, I'm happy to report the lineup is now confirmed, and I'll give the opening lecture. That's Flavia. Flavia will give the opening lecture, followed by Travis Koschel and Lizzie Gershenson. Hope I'm saying that right. I apologize, Lizzie. From Future Fonts. Those are the founders of Future Fonts. They also have their own Foundry too, but Future Fonts. Luke Prouse from Fonts XYZ. That is the new Foundry that we, or not the new Foundry. That's the new marketplace that we saw launched by Nan, or Nan. Teresa Bettinardi, Clube do Livro do Design, sounds Brazilian. And a panel with Rutherford Craze from Mass Driver, Maria Dorielli from Contrast Foundry, and Celine Herka. A newsletter with the first announcements will go out on Tuesday. So I have linked that in the description as well. So let me see what we've got going on here. Type electives, there we go. So in the description, I have this. Let me open this in a private tab because I already subscribed. Here we go. That didn't open where I wanted it. Let's try it one more time. Third time's the charm. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Boom. So they have a newsletter you can sign up for right here. The reason that you were seeing the other screen is because I'm already subscribed. So these are all the past newsletters that have come from Type Electives. So if you want to hear about the upcoming lecture series, we just got a preview of it here. You know, we've got some names and the theme that's barely scratching the surface of what's to come, I'm sure. So sign up for that newsletter from Type Electives and see what Flavia's got coming this fall. And just so you know, this is a free lecture series. I pointed out in the beginning, but like I said, it is a free lecture series. You can go to their YouTube channel right now and watch all of these. That's what these links go to. It's just embedded YouTube videos. So you can go to their YouTube channel and watch all those. Let's move on. Next story here is from the Type founders, no strangers of the channel. And we actually pointed out this new website last week. It's very oddly aligned though, isn't it? That's, I think this is designed for mobile first, maybe, because I don't know. I'm sitting in the middle of my screen and this is all the way over there. So let's zoom in on this and we'll get it towards the middle. This is an article written by Sam Berlow that was actually, they're saying this went out on June 25th. I did not see this June 25th. I apologize. I just saw this recently, but the world of digital type, dusk or dawn. I'm going to scroll past this first part. This is kind of a non-article, being honest. It's a preview of articles to come. And it's talking about over the last 40 years, the digital industry has changed a bunch, and we're in another one of those periods where people are wondering, like, is this a dusk or dawn? So I'm going to read the quote that I think is most interesting here from Sam. I'm going to zoom in on this as much as I can without making the screen incredibly ugly. This is what I'm reading right here. So I guess I'm not going to keep it highlighted because it's kind of harder to read. This is Sam Berlow from the Type founders. And many other places, but currently the Type founders. While the pace of change is exhilarating, it can also be daunting. Many designers feel a sense of unease regarding the potential of artificial intelligence in type design. Whether this represents the dusk or the dawn of a new era remains to be seen, but I remain optimistic that it is the dawn. AI will likely make type development more efficient and usage smarter, though I do not believe it will replace type designers as a craft or a business. So they are previewing that they're going to be having many more articles and essays as this part of the World of Type section of the new Type Founders website. I really wonder why they've left aligned this entire thing. I don't know. Maybe no one else besides me uses their full monitor to read web pages. This is a very strange alignment. Anyway. So that is something to look forward to, and it is interesting that Sam is optimistic about AI. I don't think most other type designers are. I guess it's important to point out that Sam Berlow is not a type designer, despite being in the industry. He's much more business part of the type industry. His brother, on the other hand, is a type designer. Anyway, so something to look forward to. I mentioned before I was going to be covering the AI as a subject in type design and keeping you guys up to date. And this is one of the things that was posted on social media recently, or maybe it came in a newsletter, but it does look like it was actually written about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So more to come in the world of type here. And that is the first one. It looks like I've got a few other articles here, but nothing about AI or anything like that yet. So I have one more featured story here, more of an event, and then we'll get into some new releases. This upcoming event is free. It's from the Letterform archive, and it is, I did look up how to say this, Poletrarac. I hope I'm saying that kind of right. Lettering and artistic practices for children in socialist Yugoslavia. I apologize, Irma. I'm not going to butcher your last name, but Irma will be presenting this. If you just read this, you'd be like, what? Like, especially if someone that doesn't like typography read this, you're like, what is this? But if you look at some of the lettering and typography and stuff that's going on here, I tried to look up these magazines. You can see like some covers and things like that, but I'll be honest, I know nothing about this. I know nothing about socialist Yugoslavia and the artistic practices and lettering for children. But what I do know is when I come across something that is completely foreign to me, pun intended, completely foreign to me, there are always seeds to be gained. And I've talked about seeds on this channel many times. It's just these things that enter your brain from consuming some sort of media, and they become inspiration or something that it might spark something right then. And you've got this seed that sprouts into something, or it might sit with you for a while. And then later on that little seed becomes an idea, becomes a project, becomes a business or, anything. So that's why I'm looking forward to this one on Tuesday, June 21st at looks like 12 o'clock Pacific time. So they're in San Francisco, so that makes sense. Pacific time, you'll have to adjust for GMT. But 12 o'clock Tuesday, if you're in California, I'm not. I'm like 4 hours away from that. So for me, this is going to be like 4 p.m. in Brazil. But yeah, this seems like it's going to be interesting. It's something I absolutely know nothing about. So I'm excited to learn, and I'm excited to get those little seeds that are just going to be things that I never would have come across in my day-to-day or any of the books that I'm reading or anything, because this is completely out of anything that I pay attention to on a regular basis. So once again, Letterform Archive coming up on Tuesday. Free event. Go check it out. Linked in the description. I'm going to get a big drink of water, and we're going to get into some new releases here. The first one's coming from Zetafonts. I'm going to turn my face cam off so I don't cover anything up, and I'll see you guys at the end. There we go. Okay, 7 foundries released new typefaces this week that we're covering. The first new release for today is coming from Zetafonts, and it is Avina. This actually released, I think it released on June 2nd, or not June 2nd, July 2nd, so I apologize. Earlier in the month, this one released. But if you look at this little tag right here, it says alpha. This is an alpha. This is part of Zetafonts alpha releases, similar to Future Fonts, where it's in progress and you can purchase it now. I'm assuming you get free updates when these get fully released, but I actually didn't confirm that. That's just always what I assume when I see these sort of beta or alpha systems on Foundry websites. I assume they all take after Future Fonts, but I could be wrong. I am going to give you, let me see how I want to do this. I'm going to give you the description first because I think that this is a very succinct and a well-written description, and then we'll look at this. On Instagram real quick, get a vibe check, and we'll come back. So description: a contemporary editorial Avina designed by Zina Otto. Is a contemporary editorial typeface rooted in a long-standing fascination with the tension between italic energy and upright structure. Right there, the italic energy and upright structure. I love this concept. And you can see it immediately. As soon as you read that, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So let's get a vibe check on Instagram, then we'll come back and look at it in a little bit more detail. This is Zina's Instagram account right here. And here is Avina. Get these little things out of here. There we go. So I'm just going to go through this pretty quick. You can see some alternates and things like that. I'll read you some details while we go through this, actually. Let me go ahead and get these up on my notes while I'm going through these. Zetafonts, Zina Otto, 7 styles on this one, but actually 6 weights. So you'll see there's a bold and there's a bold connected. This is kind of interesting because, like the description said, it's that italic energy, and we are going to see some of these letters connecting once you get past the boldest weight. I've played around with this, but yeah, I'll show you on the website when we get there. So 6 weights, but 7 styles. Pretty cool. It is variable, as we saw on the homepage here. You can see this one animating there. It is variable. Glyph count on this one, 685 glyphs, 26 open type features. It's available from the Foundry Zetafonts. There is a full trial, but the 0 is missing. So you can try this out almost to your fullest heart's content. 129 euros for the family on desktop, which I think is solid, but it does not include logos or videos, which I never like to see as a video content creator. But I hope you got a vibe check on that. I think that it makes sense. I specifically decided not to do a deep dive on this one, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it. The reason being is that I want to do a deep dive on this when we get the full release rather than the alpha. So we'll look at this again whenever it fully releases, and I'll do a deep dive on it then. But for now, I'm going to give this a little bit of love today, more than a typical new release. And then we'll do the deep dive later on. But I definitely want to do a deep dive on this one. First thing I noticed here, first thing caught my eye, probably catching your eye too, is how nice these specimens are. The color, the layout, the demonstration of the fonts in general. This is giving you a real, a very good look at how nice this can look. And I don't love these carousels. The first time I was on this webpage, I actually scrolled past all of them. But here's all of the weights right here, all stacked together. Light, regular, medium, bold, bold connected. I'll show you these in a little bit closer here in a second. Extra bold and black. And we're back to the beginning. So just going to go ahead and keep scrolling down here. There's the full description right here. Like I said, show all, there it is. You could read through this if you want, but I do think that the short synopsis there does a great job of getting your mind in the right place to understand what this is for. Editorial, italic energy, upright structure. And here we go right here. I can show you right here. This is the bold right here, and this is the bold, this is the bold. Wait, these labels are hard to, because the labels are equidistant from each of these. If you don't notice Avina light on the very top, you don't know if the labels are on top or bottom. UX complaint there from Curtis. But this is bold condensed. I'm gonna make these both say the same thing so that we can compare them perfectly. Actually, I think you can say apply to all on this and get the same thing written. Perfect. So you can see the TH on bold versus the HE on bold versus on the connected one. QIC, you can just see what's happening. The tails are kind of starting to connect there on some of the letters. And jumps right here, we're getting a little bit of it, the TH right here. So if we delete this, lazy looks pretty nice right there. And as you go down to the heavier weights, these are also connected as well. So that's where it starts doing the connection. And I think this is an interesting thing to add in, but I also think it's probably quite practical, because when you get to the heavier weights, you really would lose a lot of this italic energy if you had to squeeze those in and get nice spacing. It's much better to be able to connect these together. So I didn't ask Zena specifically. I did speak to her this week, mostly to get a pronunciation on her name. Thank you again. But I should have asked that question. When we do the full deep dive on this, when the full release comes, I'll do that. But you can see the variable right here. Like I said, there's a full trial minus the 0. But I did test this out in Affinity, and it's very smooth. You can see a nice smooth interpolation until you get to that bold, and then it snaps from bold to bold connected. Very nice. And then a nice smooth interpolation all the way up to that black, Avina black there. And you can see the weights again right here. It did have some alternates. We saw those in one of the specimens there. You can see some old style numerals there. I'm gonna keep scrolling through this. Once again, these are just beautiful specimens. There's another carousel here that's very easy to miss. I'll go ahead and show you them. And I do think that they do a nice job again here, showing you this at 3 different sizes, or even on this one here, showing you it at a lot of different sizes. It's not meant to be like body copy or anything, but they're getting away with it in these ingredients and stuff. And I think you could set a few paragraphs in it, or 1 or 2 paragraphs per page in this. When we get down to the bottom, you'll be able to see that. Features. I love to see this. This is what makes it a true editorial to me, is these small caps right in the middle. Because this takes it from, display to kind of like, Like I actually could set a paragraph in this and then run the small caps there. Or for like editorial, I could run like section headers in this if you were thinking about an old school magazine or something, or even like a news website where maybe sometimes they run like financial news and they'll put it in the small caps or something like that. That's a nice thing to have. It's a really nice thing to have. There's some stylistic sets and things like that. I guess we can click through these real quick. Simple G, simple A, and simple Z, as well as an alternate K here. I thought the K was interesting. You see that K right here. It goes from like, swooping from the bottom to the top, or swooping, a little more, I don't know, how would you say this? Convex, concave, maybe that's a decent description to it. It's interesting though, because I'm not sure which one I like more. I feel like this one kind of leads to that X height a little more, but this one might be a little bit more easy to distinguish in a line of text. Then you've got your typical number stuff. Like to see this in any type of workhorse typeface. Always nice to see. And once again, it's variable. Getting a few final looks at some of the characteristics here. She's pointing out these curly ink traps. And yeah, at those heavyweights, you really get some nice, negative space in it. The serifs combined with the curled exit strokes and the ball terminals. Yeah, just a really, really nice. And you can see small caps right here. Up here are the characteristics. Nice to see them put to use right after we saw that. I don't know. There's a really, really nice vibe to it. And I really had to like make the executive decision and be like, no, Curtis, we can't do the deep dive on this because we need to wait to do it when it's fully released, because I know I'm going to want to do it then. And I can't do it twice. That's too much. But yeah, we'll definitely see this one again. Let's take a look at this body copy real quick before we finish up with Avina from Zetafonts and Xena Otto. There's some body copy for you. I can make this a little bit smaller. I don't want to take it too small because I know some of you are on, I don't know what size screen you're on, but you can see right here, you can pull it off. I wouldn't set a book in this. I know I say that every time. I wouldn't set like a book in this, but you could get away with a paragraph or two. This amount of text right here, you can get away with. Your reader's not going to stop reading because it has too much italic energy. But I don't think that this is what you're going to primarily do with it, but I think you can get away with a lot. Time will tell. Like when I do the full deep dive, I'll know better how much of that you can really pull off. But this right here, this editorial, design is more of what I think this is best suited for. Just a really nice looking typeface. Running a lot of small caps on these two book covers right here. Looks nice. And then you're doing kind of everything here, where you've got a little bit of body copy on the side, a little bit of a description. Yeah, kind of running it all. A bunch of different weights. Looks great. Really, really does. But that is the new release. That is Avina by Xena Otto from Zetafonts. And this one's in alpha. You can get the full trial right now, less the 0 character, but you get everything else in there. All the weights, the variable, everything. Or you can buy it now for 129 euros on desktop. Does not include the logo or the video in that desktop license, though. I always need to point that out. I'm going to get a drink of water. We're going to do our sponsored segment, and we'll get back into some new releases. I mentioned last episode that we are sponsored by FontBase for the month. Let me go ahead and pull this up. FontBase is a free font management software, and I can pretty much tell you whatever I want about this. So there are some paid features for it. There's a free version and a pro version, but I used the free version for about a year and a half before the sponsorship. Honestly, I didn't use the pro version until I got sponsored, but there are some genuinely nice to have pro features in here. It's available on Windows, Linux, and Mac, and I'm basically just going to be showing you a feature that I like each week on here. Last week I showed you the collections. We're looking at one right now. Today I'm going to show you what it looks like when you go into an actual font. So this is one that's activated. This is Avina, one we just looked at. This page typically, let's go down to one that has more Helvetica here. Typically, if you've got a font with a lot of different styles to it, a lot of static styles, this is what it'll look like. You can go in and you can turn them on, turn them off. These ones that have the boxes, those are because this is an old font. This is Helvetica Linotype's standard, and it's got fractions and stuff like that separated out of it. I've had that one a long time. But on a new font, like Avina here, you'll just see the one variable font right here. You can check your license and you can add license to it and stuff like that. I'm not going to worry about that today. What I want to show you these last three sections here though. I really like this waterfall. Similar to how we just looked at the body copy, looking at the waterfall really quick is just a nice way to be able to see if a typeface, how it would work at different sizes. Like, is this possibly going to work in body copy? You can look at it real quick and see this slider right here is the variable slider. So you would have a drop down on others where you could change the static weights, but this is very nice and has the variable slider. So I can do this right here in the waterfall. If you wanted some more control over this, there's a playground over here where you can go and do all kinds of other stuff. That's another topic for another day. But let me show you a couple more things before we go. Glyphs. This is nice. You can go in. The best thing about this, everybody here knows that I use Wacom Fondue to go look at this kind of stuff a lot of times. But one thing you can do here is search for, let's see if I want to see like all the ligatures. I can start looking for ligatures and it's going to show me what kind of ligatures Avina has in it. I really, really appreciate that. And the last thing here is details. You can go in and you can see all the open type features that a certain font has. And you can see, does it have small caps? Yes. And I can see right here, it has small caps. Perfect. I'm looking for a font that has small caps. And then lastly, all the nerdy stuff right here that I like to look at. You've got different websites and things. And as I'm clicking on them right here, you can see it's copying these to the clipboard. So if I wanted to go see Zena's website, the designer, I can go in and just pop that in there, paste it, and then I'm off to the races. So shout out to FontBase. Once again, they are the sponsor for this month. And I've long used this software. You guys have seen me use it on the channel for a long time. And if you don't like mid-roll ads, they are the reason there are no mid-rolls on these episodes that they are sponsoring. So thank you, FontBase, for making great software and sponsoring Typography News. And now, let's get back to some new releases. The next one here is coming from Manic Type, and I'm going to get a drink of water while this font loads in. There it is. This second new release here is coming from Manic Type, and it is called Franke. This one's designed by Jamie Chang right here, founder of Manic Type. And unlike some of the other fonts that we're going to look at today, this is a display font, and it's what you see is what you get. Another great description here, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it for you while we look at these couple of specimens that are going back and forth on the page. Franke is rooted in the feels of yesteryear, inspired by a mix of traditions from wood type and photo lettering typefaces from the 70s to natural brush lettering. Franke melds those concepts into a uniquely exciting and warm typeface that is sure to rock your socks off. So having a little bit of fun with it, but it's a bottom heavy typeface. It screams 70s to me. I love this. My parents were married in the 70s. They came of age in the 70s. And then that 70s show was huge when I was a kid. So anything 70s related, music or typography, lettering, psychedelic, anything, it's a little more 70s or 60s, right? But anything like this just really appeals to me for some reason. This one is static. We don't have a lot to go on the website. We can do this in dark mode though, so I don't have to flashbang all of you guys. Let's go ahead and get it in dark mode here, and I'll scroll back through. Actually, I really like this specimen. I wish we could just pause right here. Static, just one style on this one. Don't have a glyph count or features, but it's available for purchase from the Foundry for, oh, this is the nice part. I'll come back to this. There is a trial on this one, but it's limited. You go to demo fonts right here and you can download that. I did test it out. It looks nice, but I don't have the full font, so I can't give you a full review on it. This could potentially end up on Adobe fonts someday because Manic Type does have typefaces on Adobe fonts, and Adobe loves to license display fonts. So this could very well end up on there someday, but for now, it's very reasonably priced. And this is what I was going to show you, which is nice, is that two things. Number one, it has fair pricing. So I'm in Brazil, so right now I'm getting Brazilian prices. And go ahead and select commercial here. It is only $18.45 in Canadian dollars. I did check in the US, so this is about 36 US dollars. So this price is going to vary based on where you're at. But I think that's nice to see. The income of the average Brazilian is nowhere near the income of an average American, and that varies throughout the world. So it's nice to see foundries doing these fair price adjustments. In the beginning of the year, I pointed out this is a tough thing to do because the foundries, this foundry still needs to earn money where they're located. So selling a font for cheaper doesn't make it any cheaper for them to produce. So it very much is a nice thing that they're doing, in my opinion, and not something that anyone's required to do. Especially, small foundries like we're reporting on here with, Manic type. Secondly, great license on this one, just a commercial license. You pick your company size and that's it. Let me go ahead and click on this and show you they one license to rule them all, similar to what we saw from Cape Arcona a few weeks ago. This is a perpetual licensing, no reoccurring fees. Love to see it. You can see right here. You can use it across everything in your entire organization: print, web, app, social, ebooks, broadcast, and more. Company size pricing. So you go in, you pick the size of your company, 3 up to 300. I guess if it's above 300, you probably need to get a special license for that one. But here's another nice thing. No need to update if your team grows. So right now I'm a team of 1 here at Jective. If I bought this typeface right now, being in Brazil I probably would I'd switch my VPN, buy this in the US because I have a US based company. But if I bought this for $36 it would, and then I grew my team to 100 people, this would still be, I could still use this without worrying about it. I could still use it everywhere. God, this is the license that I want from everyone. And I know everyone's not going to do this, but it just makes your designer's life so much easier, your client's life so much easier, because you buy it and you just have it and you can use it. I know not everyone wants or can do that, but I really, really appreciate the foundries that do this. So I'm always going to point it out and give them their flowers. So Franke from Manic, a nice display, bottom heavy, 70s inspired typeface that looks really, really nice. Nice pricing, great license. Shout out to Manic Type. Next up, we've got one from Suitcase Type Foundry. This is another fun one right here, and I am going to do a deep dive on this one. So if I skip over anything today, leave a question in the comments or in chat, and I will be sure to cover it next week in the deep dive. Gonna get a drink of water real quick while we look at this play. And I'm actually going to read another description here. I apologize if you don't like me reading these, but there are some really good ones today. So actually, I'll just go ahead and I'll read the headline to you, because we are going to do the deep dive, so we'll do that next time. Gutentag is a display typeface built around a simple idea. I'm reading their words. Achieve the strongest possible character with the fewest possible means. Love that. And I think that they do achieve this. And it says, its forms are clean and economical, yet full of subtle details that give the typeface a warm, approachable, slightly mischievous personality. Also love that. Slightly mischievous is such a good phrase. The result is a distinctive voice that feels confident without being loud, and expressive without becoming eccentric. And I'll give you a... No, we're going to go to the website. I have this in Affinity, so I'm so tempted to go show it to you right now, but we're going to go to the website. I'm going to bring this back up next week. Don't worry. I'm going to scroll through this, show you some details. Let me go ahead and give you the designer right here. This is Tomas. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I apologize. I'll get it right next week. Tomas Brosel. 15 styles on this one. 3 weights plus... 3 widths. I apologize. 3 widths, 5 weights. So 15 total styles. You can see light, regular, medium, semi-bold right here. Then we've got the narrow version of it and the condensed version of it. So 3 different widths on it, 5 different weights. I know we haven't really seen too much of it yet. We're going to get to it. This is a really, really fun one. I wonder, yeah, we'll just scroll through these right here. Look at the character that this has. The strongest possible, the goal was to achieve the strongest possible character with the fewest possible means. Look at the N on this. It's just, it's an arch almost. Look at the A. It's like an arch sideways with an arch on top. Like they really are doing like they're min-maxing this, right? Minimizing the means, maximizing the character. And I don't know how you manage to do that, but but Gutentag Suitcase type Foundry has managed to do that with Gutentag here. You're seeing 5 different weights there. Now we're getting into some of the condensed here. And then this is the narrow at the bottom here. I don't have a glyph count or features for you on this yet, but there is a full trial on this available if you create an account. If you don't create an account, you can get a limited trial, but they want to be able to track who's downloading the full trials, obviously for good reason. But look at this even in body copy. This is not made for body copy, and this is also the narrow version of it, but like this holds up. This is the medium weight. Let me go ahead and give you that's condensed regular. Let's just find a regular weight on this. Gutentag regular, not bad. Obviously not a body copy typeface, but you can get away with it. A font with this much character shouldn't be able to get away with body copy looking this good. This is another one where the Foundry does have typefaces on Adobe fonts, but this one's not on there yet. Someday it could be. Alternative K here. This looks like to be our only alternative, but it's a nice one. More traditional K on there versus the more characterful one. I really like this characterful one, but I think the traditional one is the default. Let's just go ahead and type a big K right here in the middle of Midwest. Yeah, that's the default right there. And then we probably could switch this right here, alternate K. Oh, it actually looks like there might be some other alternates. We'll have to look and see, but alternate K feels really nice with this, especially with the arches that we saw from those other characters on there. Yeah, really like this one. I will have some full glyph counts for you and all of the OpenType features and all of those details next week. Just consider this a preview right now for Gutentag by Suitcase Type Foundry. It looks really fun. Another one that I just have a very visceral reaction to, and 15 styles on this. Yeah, I think they all look great. I think this is going to be pretty versatile. I think this is going to be one of those ones that I'm like surprised at how versatile it can be. But time will tell the truth. We'll find out. We'll find out next week. Pricing on this one is 529 euros for the family on desktop, standard license. So it's going to be desktop, web, and app. Let's move on. We've got a Foundry here that's dropping 4 all at once. This is DSType. I'll show you the email announcement real quick, but I don't think that there's, this is the email announcement that I got, and it shows kind of a preview of all 4 of these. But I'm going to go ahead and show them to you in full. So this is their marketing. The new typefaces are DualType, Obra, Ultra, Ultor, and Zellar. These are very difficult to pronounce. I don't know if I'm saying any of them right. But this is DSType Foundry. Dino Sanchez is the DS in DSType Foundry, I'm pretty sure. Because he designed all of these typefaces along with one other designer. We'll get to that one when we get to it. So I'm going to pop all of these up. Let me close everything else that we've already got open. I am going to open up all of these, and then we'll go through them real quick. I am not going to dive into these with too much, how would you say this? I'm not going to spend too much time on any one typeface, because there are just so many on here to go through. DualType, I'm going to say these how I say them. I apologize if I'm saying them wrong. DualType has 2 different styles to it. Obra has, 2 different styles to it. Ultor has 6 different styles to it. And then Zellar has 3. So there's a lot going on here. These are all part of their next typefaces. So similar to what we saw from Alphas, from Zetafonts or Future Fonts typefaces, like we're going to look at later with Catedra. These are typefaces that are works in progress. They're more or less betas, but you can use them now at you can purchase them now at a discounted price, and then you'll get the updates included. So this is DualType Modern. You can see it's very high contrast serif typeface there. This is DualType Slab. Less contrast, thicker slabs on there. Let's get down to a heavier weight so you can see the lack of contrast. That K right there versus the K in one of these others. Let's just go ahead and type it because I can't find one. But there you go right there. You can see that difference there. And lastly, DualType Text. So I think it's going to be a nice little super family here where you've got text, slab, and the high contrast. Seems pretty cool. That is the first one there. Next up, we have Obra. This one has 2 styles as well. Let me just tile these real quick. Maybe that makes more sense. We've got Obra here, and it is another serif typeface, but it's got rounded serifs on it. Not going into all of the abouts and all the styles and stuff like that, literally just giving you a preview of these because there are so many to go through. But on the left here, we've got Obra. On the right, we've got Obra Mayor, and it looks like the ascenders are much longer on this one. I'm not sure what the difference is between them. If the about tells us in 1 second, then I'll let you know, but it doesn't. So we're just going to have to see rounded serifs on this, kind of soft. Not seeing a huge difference in the contrast. It looks like the ascenders are the main difference between these. That is Obra, another alpha released this week from DSType Foundry. Next up, we have Ultor. I'm not going to tile these because we got 6 different ones, but they are all very similar. You can see Ultor super condensed. These are really fun typefaces to work with here. Sometimes get difficult, but when done right, they can be really, really fun. That is Ultor. This is Ultor backslanted. There is also Ultor slanted. Ultor Glow. This one could be really fun to do like some fake CRT lighting and stuff like that. Yeah, that one looks pretty fun right there. There is also Ultor Stencil. I am not typically a fan of stencil fonts, but this one's kind of fun. Just because when you've got that super condensed, like this M is almost illegible. The only reason I know that that's an M is because we saw it up here, right here. But it's still, I don't know, there's something kind of fun about the texture of that stencil version of it. And last but not least, we have Ultor Void, which leaves these, like an outline, but then leaves the terminals open. So it's kind of, I don't know, what would you say? It's kind of like a maze or something like that. Those open-ended outlined letters there, outlined characters. Interesting. Last up, we have Zellar. And once again, I apologize if I'm not saying these right. This is probably the most normal of the bunch in terms of sans serifs or just, like a legible typeface. This one's very, very legible, hyper legible probably. But it's got 3 different styles. This one here is Zellar. This is Zellar Cargo, another stencil here, but done a little bit different. Kind of interesting. It's not as dramatic as we just saw with Ultor, but neither is the typeface in general. And lastly, we have Zellar rounded. So let me make these, I'll get down to a heavier weight and we'll make this nice and big. You can see the rounded terminals on there. They are not fully rounded like something like Arial rounded or something like that, but you can see they've slightly rounded the corners on Zellar from right here. So there's a lot going on there. If you want to check these out in all of their glory, go check out DSType Labs and go to the next fonts. I've got this link in the description. It'll go right to this page right here. And you can check all of these out, and it's similar to future fonts where you get them now at a discounted price, and then as the updates come, you will get the updates for free. I think, I hope. Check the EULA. We've got 3 more new releases. I'm gonna get a drink of water. This next one here is from Softdrive. And I'm gonna close out all of these tabs we've got going there. Softdrive, there are 2 links in the description for this one. One is for the store to purchase it. The other is for the release notes. We're going to start out with the release notes here. You know that I'm not a fan of these fast-moving GIFs. They kind of give me a headache, but it is a quick way to grab attention and see what's going on here. And other than this GIF right here, I really like the marketing on this one, and that was the biggest thing that caught my attention, because this could easily, Lingo could easily be just another, versatile workhorse serif typeface. But the marketing caught my attention, and then when it grabs your attention, you give it a second look and you really start to see all the unique things that it's doing. So I'm going to scroll through the release notes right here. They've got a little bit of a carousel here, and you could probably start to see they've got some words on here like turnt. I mean, the name of the font is Lingo, slang, fluently, loud, and clear. Let me go ahead and read you this one line right here. It says Softdrive's new typeface, Lingo, was born from moments like this. Timeless elegance meets current trend, intellectual authority meets people's slang. Lingo is both a workhorse, trotting along in body copying, and a show pony shining in display. Love that last part. A lot of metaphors going on here. But there's a full backstory to this. We are going to do a deep dive on this one next week, so fear not. I will get into all the backstory and give you this in a lot more details. But I want to give you a vibe check today and let you see why I'm so excited about this one, and maybe you'll get excited about it as well. And then come back next week and see episode number 64. But let's go ahead and go over to the full web page here, full website where you can purchase this. There are 12 styles on this. Let me give you some details. Softdrive is Mark Julian Hahn, and he has designed 12 styles on this one. 6 weights plus italics. I think we're going to get to see them here in just a second. 6 weights plus italics. It is variable, which is really nice. Looks really great right here. I don't think we're seeing them all stacked up together. We'll probably see at the bottom. You're getting a real specimen view of this right here. Here are all of the different styles. Thin all the way up to black, and you are getting, is that 6? Yeah, that's 6. And you're getting matching italics with those true italics, as you can see, with the lowercase a there, the swash, not the swashes, but like the swashy pen stroke, calligraphic I, and things like that compared to the full serif I right here. So that's what I always look at to see if it's going to be a true italic or not. It's usually not hard to spot once you've been around type for any amount of time, but variable. So you can use the variable features between these, all of these, 961 glyphs up to 976 glyphs. The italic actually has the 961. Interesting to see the Roman has more glyphs than the italic. 35 open type features on this one. So this is a big family. Even though it's got 10 styles, but it's got almost 1,000 glyphs, 35 open type features. That's what I'm most excited about. The trial is awesome on this one. Full trial, full characters, plus it comes with web. So if you wanted to test this out in some HTML, CSS, you can do that, which is nice. You don't have to, test it out incorrectly or, have a heavy typeface to test it out with the full desktop version. This page right here is very easy to scroll past. I really like that it's here, but this gray line at the bottom, this has a bunch of open type features. I'm going to go through these super fast because we are going to do a deep dive on this, but I wanted to show you this because I think it's a clever way to show it. I just wish it was a little bit more prominent that this line right here is here, because it's easy to just scroll past this and think, oh, it has alternate A's. No, man, this has so many more things than just alternate A's. I'm going to click through these as I get a drink of water. I'm not going to comment on every single one of them, except this G. I have to comment on the G. You can see the G here. It's got an alternate for the ear, which is cool. What I think is even more cool is that there's a simple G. And I say that because in body copy, this G kind of has an angle to it. Like it has a different, if we go up here real quick, I apologize. If we go up here real quick, look at this body copy here. These G's, to me at least, stand out. And maybe you would get used to it as you read more. I mean, 99% sure you would get used to it. But they can be a little distracting at first glance. So I really like what this has going on with it. That was the one thing that stood out to me. But the fact that it has an alternate, not a concern for me at all after seeing that. And maybe, when I do the deep dive, I'll come around and be like, yeah, don't switch to the simple G's, but I'm glad that they're there. I'm going to get a drink of water now while we look through these real quick. Like I said, this has a lot going on. I think you're getting an idea of what's going on. Small caps, love to see it. Can you call your typeface a workhorse if it doesn't have small caps? I don't know. Probably you still could, but this makes it a true workhorse in my opinion. If you've got the weights, you got the italics, you got the small caps, you've got the correct what would you say, the correct contrast and spacing and stuff, then you've got a real workhorse. There are even more things going on here. There are numbers and discretionary ligatures and things like that. I'm not going to get into those right now. We'll look at them next week when we do the full deep dive. Yeah, you can see we've got the typical font do grid right here, and you can see all of those 976 glyphs. Let's go back up to the top, and I'll go ahead and give you my the pricing on this one. 535 euros for the family on desktop. Next week, we will see if that is a good price or not. I think that my first impression is obviously very positive, and I think that there is going to be good value to be had in that. So I'll see you guys next week for this one. This is not a goodbye. This is just goodbye to Lingo. But shout out to Softdrive. I think this looks excellent at first glance, and I really, really like the marketing. Really fun, and caught my attention. So Lingo by Softdrive. We have 2 more new releases. Next one here is from Type Nord. It's been a while since we've talked about Type Nord, and I need to slow down on my water. I'm almost out. Let's see here. Okay, Type Nord. I am going to, I'll just keep you on this webpage here for a second, give you a vibe check. You can see what's going on. This is a monoline felt-tipped script typeface. It is, I'm going to pull up a couple of email announcements because this is where I found out about it this week. This actually released, this says week 29. This one is from November 12th, 2021. This actually had its first release in beta, work in progress, in November of 2021. And you can probably see already that a lot has changed. But this is where it started, humble beginnings. And I like that the same inspiration is still here. So the general inspiration has not changed. And it came from these 1950s vintage knitting magazines, of all things, that had these advertisements on it with these handwriting, little handwriting additions to the typography that was on here, which I agree. This looks excellent. Shout out to Libby Bischoff for noticing these and using them in this type design. But this was the original. This was the first iteration of I apologize, of Stockinette. I don't even know if I said that. Stockinette from Type Nord. But now full release here. Stockinette is here. Still just one style on this. It's still a monoline, but you can already see we've got a little bit more going on, right? I see dingbats. I see swashes. There's more going on. I even see a ligature the first time around. This was built proudly with no ligatures needed. Everything just worked as it was. Didn't need to do a bunch of open type features to make the typeface work. But in this one here, they have been added to add a little bit more to it. So I will, this is linked in the description. You can go, feel free to check this one out. But you'll see, everybody knows I love some good swashes, and this one has swashes for all of these characters right here. That's not 26, that is 16, but these are some really nice ones, and maybe all of the characters do have swashes. We'll be able to check in just a second. As far as swashes go, I think these look nice. My first impression was, ooh, like some of these have some weird like spacing. Like you look at the P, there's kind of a big negative space there. Or you look at yoked, and that line is really close to the baseline of those letters, or at least the bottom of those letters where it's overshooting the baseline. But we have to remember this is a handwritten, this is a handwriting inspired typeface. And handwriting isn't always perfect, and handwriting would underline pretty close to it because you're going to be writing the next line below that. So I think when you keep this in context of that vintage advertisement, these look perfect. And they do keep that human element to it. Not everything that's perfect is as beautiful as the imperfect. I apologize. I'm not trying to be a poet here. Dingbats have been added. You can see some fun swirls and twirls and emojis and peace signs. And these are just really nice. These are just little things that you can add to it. She said she was proud of that printer publisher's plant there, the little heart thing. I never knew what that was called. What does she call it? Printer's flower. I've never seen the name for this, but I've seen this a million times in books on Internet Archive and many other typefaces as well. The thing that I found the most fun was this page right here, and we saw this when we were doing our vibe check on the home page there. Like I said, on the left there, you can see some of the ligatures and stuff. These are really nice for the handwriting aspect of it. You got the SS, the LL, TT, OO, TH. These just make it a little bit less repetitive and can kind of trick people for one more second into thinking this is not a typeface and it actually is handwriting. The second thing that's really cute is the to and the from and the that's pushed up to kind of create this logo-esque word mark typography right here. And then last but not least here is the dot on the hearted, heart dotted I is pretty fun. And to go along with that, she made some bow dingbats there. So there is a full write-up here that's really, really fun. Go check that out. Let's see if we got all of the characters here. No, we don't have. So you can see the swashes, third from the bottom there. It doesn't have every single character, but you know, that's fine. I do like that the F, the E, the L, that there are different kinds of swashes, that some of these are underlining words, others aren't. And I also appreciate there are a few things in here. First one, you can see a lot of language support. You got a lot of accents and stuff like that. So that's great. Not just English support here. It looks like quite a bit of Latin support. But the thing I was going to point out here is that it has some extra circles and underlines and stuff like that. You can get some arrows and some more hearts and stuff. That's really fun. But these underlines seem like they wouldn't be that useful until you need to underline something. And then you have to make your own, or you have to take the I or a slash or something like that, or a dash, and stretch it out and try to match it, make it match the typeface. It's always nice to have those type of things with this type of typeface because it just feels more authentic. Can you do it yourself? Yeah. Is it nice that these are included? Yeah, even better. So it says it has Latin plus character set as defined by the Underwear Foundry. So that's what it's got. This is not included in the description. I apologize, but this is, I don't think it's in the description, but there is a discount until Monday. Today is Sunday, so until Monday, I apologize. If you're watching the replay and you want this, go pick it up right now. I love Stockinette 20 for 20% off from now through Monday. So you've got about, I don't know, 36 hours to pull this off, 24 hours maybe if you're watching this at midnight. Let me show you this on the webpage, and I will go ahead and there is a PDF specimen. I think that the article does such a good job. We don't necessarily need to do that. Let's go to buy real quick and buy for yourself. You can see standard license here. You select your desktop, 3 computers, 1 location, just 1 style on this. Like I said, add to your cart. This is $32 by default. But if we add the coupon code, let me copy this real quick just to demonstrate. You add your coupon code, hit apply, and you can get this down to $25.60 US. So really nice to see. I love that when you get, you know, a little bit of a discount incentive to get this thing off its feet when it's first released. And that's really nice. So if you want this, you can pick it up for a little more than $25 until the end of the day tomorrow. So Type de Nord, Stockinette, finally released, 5 years in the making, and probably 6 years in the making, to be honest, 6 years in the making or more. New release from Type de Nord and Libby Bischoff, and it's a really nice one. Seems fun. There's a limited trial on this one, but it's super limited, like 57 glyph limited. So I think that's fine with the price tag here. You probably know what you're getting before you buy it, and the trial, even limited, is enough to probably get you by. Next one here is more traditional, and surprisingly, only available on third-party marketplaces. This finally released today is coming from Mac Rhino fonts, and it is Brunnen. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Brunnen. I tried to look up how the Swedish would pronounce this word, but it seems like there's kind of a U that's not necessarily pronounced in English. Let me see here. Yeah, we'll stay on this page, I think. This is Brunnen from Mac Rhino fonts, and I am going to, I apologize. No, we're going to go to Instagram and look at this in a little bit more detail because we can go to this and make it nice and big. There are 5 different weights on this one, or 5 different styles. I apologize. 5 different styles, but this is a reel. We'll come back to these. Do I have it right here? Boom. 3 weights, 5 styles. There's a display weight for display style for larger sizes. There's regular, italic, and bold for text sizes, and then there's a small. So there are 3 specific optical sizes for this, and then there are 3 different styles for the text: regular, italic, and bold. This is a very traditional, very classic style of release, I guess you would say. But I think that it's working. I think for this type of typeface, this could make sense for you. I'm going to go back to I Love Typography in just a second, but let's go ahead and look at these right here since we've got them up. This is Brunnen Regular, Brunnen Italic, True italics on this one, right? Yeah, of course, true italics on this one. And then last but not least, we've got the Brunnen bold. So those are your text styles right there. And then we've got the headline, which has got a little bit less contrast on it. Let's go back here. A little bit less contrast on it. And then, or I apologize, a little bit more contrast, much higher contrast, much thinner thins on there. And then we've got the Brunnen small. And this looks kind of big and chunky, but it's meant to be used at small sizes. So you have to keep that in context and remember that it would be used at the smaller sizes. What is exciting to me is that this really is kind of a true classic printer's typeface because it comes with all these borders and stuff. You know, we see manicules. We just saw the printer's plant or printer's flower with Type du Nord's release, but we don't see a lot of borders included with typefaces anymore. And this is really cool. There's this set of borders and there's also, oh no, that's all of them right there. I apologize. There's this full set of borders right here. And these can go vertical, horizontal. You've got the corner pieces. You can connect these all together. I think I Love Typography might have a little bit more pointing out those, but I apologize if not. This was inspired by a typeface that I was not familiar with, and this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to show this, because I was not familiar with its inspiration, and the inspiration is Fontana. Let me pull this up on Fonts in Use. And you will see it's empty. Fontana. it's a rare occasion that there's a typeface that has no use cases, but luckily we've got a couple of specimens here. It does say this was commissioned by Monotype in 1936, and we've got a couple of specimens. The first one is a Collins specimen uploaded by Mikey Ashworth, but we're actually going to look at the 1961 upload here from Stephen Coles. And this is the Monotype specimen. And the reason is because we can look at this nice and big. And so I think that this puts things in context. This is Fontana. This is not the new release Brunnen. But this is the original inspiration. You can see there's some small sizes right here in 10 point. And you've got your book sizes. And then you've got your large sizes. So I do really feel like this is kind of a classic release. I don't know if this one had all of the borders and things like that. It doesn't look like they're showing them off on this page if it did. But it does feel very, very much as a classic typeface. You know, with the small style set and things like that. But I think this is enough to get you by, if I'm being honest. For most people, I don't think they need a 24, 48, 96 style typeface. Do I love when I see those? Yeah, absolutely. But I get by with Silvertype. I also use Roboto, and that's huge. I go with both sides of it. But here are all of them right here. I'm just stopped right here because I want to point out there is currently 50% off on I Love Typography. You can pick this up on other marketplaces, but I Love Typography has a launch deal right now, 50% off, so you can get the full family, all 5 styles for under $100 right now with that 50% off, under $95 actually. It's going to have a standard license on it. You know, always read the EULAs, especially when it comes to third-party marketplaces, because there's just going to be more fine print because they're dealing with so many foundries. At least that's how it's been in my experience. But you can read the EULA right there, very easy to check out. Ooh, I didn't see the specimen. Let's check this real quick. Oh my goodness, I was not prepared. I apologize, guys. We're going to spend a couple more seconds on this one. Look at this. Yeah, that looks great. I wish we would have just started here. I didn't even see there was a specimen. Yeah, look at this. So that's the original on the left here. Oh, that's the original up there in the top left. This looks great in the specimen, and you can see those borders been put to good use here. There's the character set right there. Yeah, this looks great. Brunnen from Mac Rhino Fonts. Very cool. And right now, under 95 bucks for the family on desktop, if you get it from I Love Typography. Let's look at this body copy real quick. Ooh, yeah, that's clean. That's really clean in body copy. See, this is all you need. You need bold, italic, and Roman. I like to have a bold italic, not gonna lie, but I get by without it with Silvertype. And here we've got a few different specimens, or examples. These look great. Yeah, they should have had all this on the webpage. They should have had all this on Instagram. But clearly an old school release, and going with the old school PDF to really showcase this one. Feels very fitting. Feels very fitting. Let's get into some new releases though, or some some more modern releases with a ton of weights and a ton of styles. We're gonna do some deep dives. First up, we have CC Timeline. I'm gonna pull this up just to give you a refresher, and then we'll hop into Affinity and do the real deep dive on it. And if you're watching this live or you're not skipping chapters, you're gonna get this part right here. But then I'm gonna do a true intro on this for everyone watching chapters. Our first deep dive today is coming from CC Type, and it is CC Timeline. As a refresher, CC Type just launched last week. It is a new type foundry from Koto, and this is their first new release. I looked at this webpage last week, so we're not gonna spend too much time on it. The one thing I'm gonna point out right here is the description. It says CC Timeline is a versatile typeface that draws inspiration from three pivotal eras in typographic history: metal type, photo typesetting, and digital design. And they are basically synthesizing these into one typeface. There was a little bit of criticism about that. I did request a comment, didn't receive an answer. Dylan Young, the lead designer on this project and the one heading CC Type in general, is out on vacation right now. So convenient? No, I think he really is, because I got an email response from that and heard the same from other management at Koto. So this is CC Type right here. We've got a lot to go through on this one. But stick around because we do have another new release or another deep dive coming from DualType after this one. But I think a lot of people are going to be interested to see what did Koto for their first public retail type release, what did they put out? What did CC Type put out? I'm going to give you details, then we'll get into the real deep dive here. CC Type, Dylan Young, I've got an asterisk there because it doesn't actually list his name as the type designer on this, but I do know he's the lead senior type designer for Koto, and he was my point of contact. And that's the only name that I know, but it was labeled as being designed by CC Type. So asterisk there, I know his hand was involved. I just don't know who else was. 18 styles on this one. That is because there are 3 contrast and 6 weights, no italics. Variable, 809 glyphs, 22 open type features. You can purchase this from the Foundry, which is CC Type. Limited trial on this one. As such, I am looking at a review license. I did request and receive this review license from CC Type. I can use it to show you this review, but I can't use it for anything personal or commercial. 575 pounds for the family on this one. And I was a little hesitant about that price tag the first time when I announced this new release. But after seeing the all-in-one license and the fact that this has 18 styles, I think that is a perfectly reasonable price tag to ask for on this if it's what you need. Let's get into the variable features. I apologize. I keep hitting tab because I think I want to look at this bigger, then I realize we can't because I need the UI. I am going to... Okay, yeah. Going to do this with the variable. So we've got the weight slider here, and we've got a contrast slider. There are static weights on this. You can do 6 different weights plus 3 different contrasts, but with the variable slider, you can go through the weights like this. A little choppy. That might be my, I'm not sure if that's the interpolation or if that's my, on my end. I'm going to assume that's on my end. But there's your weight slider right there. You can go from light all the way up to extra bold. Extra bold looks really nice right here. I mean, the counters are pretty closed, but I'll have a little bit more to talk about that in a second. I don't mind that at these super bold weights. It doesn't need to be that legible. It's fine. But let me go ahead and get this back down to a normal weight, and we will show you the contrast on this one. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Let's do A to Z right here. Zoom in a little bit more, and I'll give you some contrast because you can see the contrast changes quite a bit. And fear not, I have plenty of examples to show you with this contrast, but hopefully you're getting a preview of what this contrast slider can do. There are not a lot of sans serifs. There are some, but there are not a lot of not a lot of sans serifs that are going to change your contrast like this. And I think CC Type's coming out swinging. They're doing some interesting stuff with this one, and we'll get into it. I'm going to switch this back to just the default, in my opinion, which is going to be regular, low contrast. We're going to do an A to Z on this. If you've been around the channel before, you know these green glyphs mean that there are alternates. Right away, you can see there are a lot of alternates, and there are even more because some of these overlap and have multiple alternates. There are a lot of OpenType features and adjustments that you can make to this typeface. On its surface, though, let's go to A to Z here at this regular contrast. And it's, you know, it's neutral. It's a workhorse typeface. This feels like other geometric, or no, other, you know, sans serif typefaces. Little geometric, little neo-grotesque. I'm not sure where this fits exactly. And part of that is because there are some OpenType features that can change what you would expect from either one of those. Jim Girth, I'm sure he'll be watching the replay if he's not here live. A couple of estets. I've been practicing estets. Am I saying it right now? We've got the capital, we've got the lowercase, and those do have alternates even. We've got alternates for the etsets. Wait, estets. I think it's estets. I don't know. I'll get it one of these days, guys. A to Z here on the lowercase. Very high X height, a very tall X height, as you can see. Let me make sure I don't have any of these OpenType features on. Okay, no, I don't. I mentioned that because you can you can make the X height look even bigger. You can see here we've got some rounded circles, rounded dots, tittles on there. And all this feels pretty normal, right? Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with sans serif being a sans serif. If you're putting out a typeface and you want it to be a workhorse that's kind of pulling from 3 different eras of type, that makes sense. We've already seen what the contrast can do, and I'm going to show you that in more detail in just a second. But let me show you these alternates before we move on. So we've seen the weights, we've seen the contrast, we've seen the A to Z. Let me show you what all these green glyphs are doing, because it's pretty interesting and it can kind of dramatically change what's going on. The biggest change here is going to be the square shapes. So what square shapes are doing, let me get this about right there, I think. Square shapes are closing up some of these counters. So look at this. Oh, look at the C right here. Look at the C here. Square shapes don't just change the dots to squares. It's actually changing entire shapes. This is getting the horizontal terminals on there as opposed to like the following the stroke and ending with the stroke. It's making it perfectly horizontal, similar to what Helvetica does. It's also doing that on all of your lowercase. You can see the A closing up, the C closing up, not just on those terminals though. See this little tail right here? Boom, nice and straight. So losing a little bit of that human flair to it, taking it much more mechanical. And that's definitely holds true for the F and the T. So you're getting a look at the F right there, getting much flatter, they're calling it square, on that top terminal. And you're getting the dots on the eyes here, square. A lot of times when you see something square in square shapes in the OpenType features, it's just going to be the dots. But this one here is giving you horizontal cuts, vertical cuts, and that makes sense how they would consider this to be square. But you can see that T there, you're losing that curve on the tail and making it much flatter with the baseline. So I won't go through every single one of these, but you can see, let me give you a zoomed out version right here. You can see these are the traditional ones right here. These are the defaults. Feels very traditional. Switch to this, and you're getting those cut off, I'm going to say Helvetica-ish terminals, because that's just probably the most prominent typeface that has those horizontal cuts. But it's not just horizontal. Remember, there are the vertical cuts as well if we look at the T and the F. Okay, that's the biggest one, and that's going to dramatically change. I say dramatically, but in terms of type nerds, we think of this as a dramatic change, but it is a change in the voice, and it is a change in the legibility and just the overall vibe of it. That's a big change, genuinely. Next up, we've got the G. We've got an alternate G with a little beard on it. You can, yes, I know some of you are wondering, you can close the counter with the square shape and have the alternate G on there at the same time. So they thought ahead. It's not just one or the other. You can do it on both. That X height that I mentioned before, let's go ahead and zoom in. This looks like a big cluster of ascenders right here. You can add even shorter ascenders on here. So if that X height right there wasn't big enough for you, you can really shrink these down. I'm not sure what the use case is for this. Maybe if you're doing it at really big sizes, maybe if you don't care about the the D or the H looking like an A or an N, go ahead, shorten your ascenders. For me, it would be very use case specific when I could see a place that I would want shorter ascenders. Interestingly though, I never would have noticed this if I didn't start putting stats on here. But this one is considered an ascender and it actually shrinks down, I guess because this would be like that long S, the traditional long S there. It shrinks down your lowercase s stat, which is pretty cool. I do think that that's like just a bit of attention to detail. Same thing here. Let me zoom in since we're here. Same thing with the square shapes as well. So if we go to square shapes, you've got alternate s stats on here, which makes sense. You know, German is a large language. Why would they not have this? But I can almost guarantee there are English speakers like myself that would forget to do certain things like that. Maybe not. Okay, we've got some alternate A, F, and T's here, but I'm going to have to go to a heavier weight because if I do this right here, it doesn't actually change anything. I'm clicking, but let me switch to not a heavier weight. I apologize. A different contrast. So if I go to the higher contrast here, and again, we'll look at this, the high contrast compared in just a second. We're going to the higher contrast here. Let's look at the F, A, and T individually, just so you can see what's going on here. And this is called thin terminals. So we got a thin terminal on the A. See what's happening there, right? Rather than having that flared terminal on the A there, you're getting it thin. This does not work if I use this contrast, turn down the contrast there. It's not going to change anything. It only works at the higher contrast versions of this. Same thing with the F here. Rather than that flared F like this, you get the thin F. So this is probably going to matter more at book sizes. I don't know, I don't know necessarily what the difference would be here. I guess with most open type features, it's all personal preference. But this one here is the least the least dramatic. The T there. Wait, can we do? Let's see. I'm sure you can. Can we do square shapes? Boom, and thin terminals? Oh, buddy. Now we got to go look. Okay, so these here would do the serif that way, or not the serif, the terminal that way with the high contrast, and then you can do the thin ones on top of that. Wow. Man, there are so many, this is what I'm saying, there's so many things like tucked away in this that it would be so easy to just dismiss this and be like, oh, cool, Koto made a sans serif typeface. Like, how daring. But there's quite a bit more going on to this than meets the eye at first glance. If you didn't have, like I have the review license here, if you couldn't really deep dive into this like this, I think you'd miss out on some of the features here, for sure. Last thing here, single story A, like to see it, makes this first 5 letters of the lowercase alphabet nice and cohesive. Probably not better for body copy, sometimes better for logos and things like that. And like I said, all of those things will work at all of the different weights and contrasts. It does have real fractions. See that slash right there? Boom, real fractions on it. Let me double check. I'm sure it's going to work at the higher contrast. Ooh, those numbers look nice at high contrast, don't they? Wow. This is a difficult typeface to review because it's really difficult to like look at everything all at once and you're kind of going back and forth. And okay, I think that's enough for this part right here. Let's go ahead and go down and look at these. I'm not going to go like super in depth with this. I just kind of wanted to show you the progression of these. We got timeline, mid, and high. So regular contrast at top, high contrast on bottom. And you can see the changes that happen here. And remember, you can change to the square shapes. You can change to the lower, the thin terminals on some of them. There's a lot of customization that can happen here. And I think coming from a branding studio, the branding perspective like Koto, this makes so much sense because it gives them so many options when working with clients. Even look at this J, like look at how like low contrast the I and the J are here. You come down to this J here and yeah, it just, I don't know. It's a completely different vibe, obviously, between the high contrast and the mid and the standard. The mid is kind of mid. You might not notice it at certain sizes between the two, but there's definitely a big change between the regular contrast and the high contrast. Let's look at this in some body copy. this is where I start to see some issues with the typeface. Go ahead and let me know if you see it. I'm going to go ahead and show you these in chapter or the paragraphs real quick. I did the grid systems trick here of using a gradient and kind of fading this out so I could fit more on the screen. But I did want to give you these not in super short lines. And you can see we're going over to the high contrast. What stands out to me and what stood out to me immediately was how tight this spacing is. This spacing is so tight. You can track it out. Yes, you can track it out. We'll do that in just a second. But this is out of the box. This is default. I wanted to show you this, how it looks. I don't think that this is good for body copy as it stands. You can track it out. You can adjust it, adjust the lines. You can adjust the spacing and make it work. It just seems for something that had so much emphasis and so much detail or care at least put into the variable weights, the variable contrast, that it falls apart a little bit when you stick it in body copy. This is immediately not a workhorse typeface for me because it can't do this. It also doesn't have italics right now. Haven't pointed that out yet. That's a glaring omission. But do these look nice just in general? Yeah. I will show you. Let me go ahead and just track this out right now for you. I looked at it and I think somewhere between like 20 and 30 kind of makes it work. I'm going to take it to, let's take it to 25. I think this makes it quite a bit more legible, but you don't want to have to track out a font. One, it's never going to look as good just tracking it out all at the same percentage versus having a type designer do it. I have this set to baselines. We could also space out our baselines, or space out the leading a little bit. Their default, I've got 45 point on here. Their default is 59. My baselines are 60, so I'm not spacing this any tighter than they typically would. But if we were to take this to, I don't know, like a 70 point, whoa, why are we, oh, because we're still hitting baselines? Yeah, there we go. If we were to take this to maybe a 65 would be okay. Somewhere like that. You're like really, you're spacing your stuff out a little bit more. So you're having to do a lot of work on it though. You'd probably do your line spacing anyway. But having to track a font, I don't know the last time that I did that. Let me go ahead and show you this compared to some classics, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in terms of this spacing. So CC Timeline, Helvetica, and Univers, if you're French, they are not, these don't fit in the same space at all. Like, yeah, you can make your terminals. If we wanted this to be more like these two, if we wanted it to be more like that, we could set the square shapes on there, and you're getting a little bit closer. But this is nowhere near like a Helvetica clone. It's just not. It's just not that. Let me turn on the beard. Turn on the beard and double check, because we're getting a lot closer to Helvetica here. But yeah, you're still not, because you don't have the, look at your T, look at your J. Those are quite different, and there's a lot of differences here, but you could get it closer to Helvetica if you turn on the square shapes and the alternate G. Oh, it did have an alternate R too. I don't even know if I showed that. You can get the more like Avenir R on there. Anyway, my point here is you can immediately see how much more spaced out these other two are. If you look at the capital Z right here, let me pull out a guide for you. I don't know that you need it, but let me go do it anyway. You can see the Z right here, and it's hitting all the way into like the 6, the 6, the 4, or the Y and the Y there. It's several characters tighter than the spacing of Helvetica and Universe. Just to show you, just to drive this home for one more second, I apologize if this is being overcooked. I have, that's the bold right there, huh? Oh, that's extra bold. How heavy can we get this one? Get it up to black. There we go. I have CC Timeline, Helvetica Standard, and Universe Standard here. These are not the newer, improved versions of Helvetica or Universe. I'm not using Helvetica New, Helvetica Now, Universe Next, none of that. These are the ones that were probably made in the 80s. But you can already see the spacing is much more legible on these. And Helvetica is notoriously not good for these small sizes and stuff. That's not what people used to complain about it. But compared to CC Timeline right here, it looks much more legible, right? Just the spacing on it is, I don't know. I don't know that I need to keep talking about it. Universe is even more spaced out, even more legible. You can notice this right away when you're looking at where the lines break. So you can see typography is a full line higher on CC timeline, despite the X height being quite a bit higher. If I pull this over and I don't know, make it red, you can see how much higher the X height is on CC timeline compared to Helvetica, right? Yeah, I think you get that. Let me undo all of this. So despite having the bigger X height, it actually takes up less space because there's so much, the spacing is just so tight. Okay, I hope that I've driven that home. I apologize if it was too much. But yeah, in general, I think this typeface is doing a lot. I just think that spacing really is gonna hurt it outside of headlines and logos and things like that. If you're doing headlines and logos, or if you don't mind having to track out, I know you could just set a style once, but you're probably gonna have to track this out all the time when you're creating documents and stuff like that. If you don't mind tracking it out, have fun. I would love to see an update to this, and I do think that CC Type is probably going to make this kind of like their, how would you say it? Not the benchmark, their big, their flagship. I think CC Timeline is going to be like their flagship typeface that we see used in branding projects, that we see developed and expanded over time, because this needs an italic. I haven't pointed out too heavily here, but the body copy doesn't work out without an italic, right? Both of these, every other typeface is going to have italics, and if we were trying to do something like this right here, I can just click the italic there. You can't do that in CC Type. You can't add italics to it. So I don't know what the use case is supposed to be. I assumed this was supposed to be their workhorse. Maybe it's supposed to be a sans serif display typeface for logos. In which case, perfect. It's got a lot of options. It's got a lot of customizability, and that makes a lot of sense coming from the perspective of a brand studio that made a Foundry. So CC Timeline, let me go ahead and give you the price on that one last time, £575 for the family, and it's an all-in-one license. The one, that's great, love it. I'm gonna give them their flowers. You're getting a lot here, 18 styles, and you can use it everywhere, desktop, web, blah, blah, blah. Immediately, even if you're using just desktop and web, you're taking that down to, 200 and, I don't know, a little under 300 pounds for the desktop, a little under 300 pounds for the web, and then you're looking at very, very reasonable prices. Beyond that, you can use it for, logos, videos, ebooks, apps, all in one license. The one thing that they do make you do, though, is upgrade your license if your team grows, which is going to be a real pain in the butt. Anytime I see that, I always wonder, like, what if my team shrank? Are they going to give me a discount on that? They're not. They're not. That would be ridiculous. But I don't like the idea of like upgrading when the team grows. I understand why they're doing it. If you grow from 2 people in a garage to 100,000 employees, that seems crazy to let you keep using it. But at the same time, imagine upgrading that month after month, year after year, just every time. That's going to be a pain. So that's my one. I have 2 gripes here. I guess I could kind of give you my bullet points here for CC Timeline. Let's go to their webpage because it looks nicer than that. CC Timeline, biggest features: variable, contrast. You've got the 3 static subfamilies. So you've got the 3 different contrasts. Its variable weight is very nice. The sliders work great. The square shape really changes how it feels. The all-in-one license is a great value as long as you don't need to upgrade. Biggest drawbacks: spacing. Man, that spacing was rough, right? I can't be alone on this. The spacing was rough. This is not the default spacing. Let me set this back to default. Let me set this back to default. And that's the default spacing that it comes with. That's rough. And no italics makes this a real deal breaker in terms of making this your brand or your workhorse typeface. Okay, that's CC Timeline. An interesting release, and the first one from CC Type, so we can't go too negative on them. Koto CC Type, Dylan Young, CC Timeline. That is the deep dive, definitively. Next up, we have our last deep dive, and it's going to be coming from DualType. And I'll give you another refresher here while I grab a drink of water. Unfortunately, I did reach out for a comment on this and didn't get one, so we're going with just my my takeaways. Second deep dive for today is Catedra. Catedra. I don't know how to say it exactly. Someone told me in the comments. I apologize. I still don't really know how to say it. Catedra. There is only a display font. I mistakenly said last week that there were 24 styles on this. I don't know where I got it in my brain that there was a text version of this, but there's only a display and it's only these 12 styles. And as you can see, Future Fonts is being Future Fonts, high quality images that load very, very slowly. We're going to go ahead and switch over to Affinity. Catedra, this one's coming from DualType, and I'll go ahead and give you some details here, and then we'll do our typical deep dive. DualType, Jen Ramirez, per usual. 12 styles on this one. It's going to have 3 widths on it, standard, semi-condensed, and condensed. 4 weights, regular, all the way up to extra bold. Static. This one's not variable. I could see potentially this being variable in future, but that's not mentioned, so that's just speculation. 137 glyphs on this one right now. Just a reminder, this is on Future Fonts. It's in beta. This is a beta typeface that costs $60 right now, and if you buy it, you get the upgrades for free. Yeah, the price will go up on this, but that's why this glyph count is so low, 137 glyphs. Also, I am using the trial license. I'm assuming this is full, but when I reached out and asked, I didn't get a reply, so I do have an asterisk there. $60 for the family. You can use this on desktop and web, included for that $60. But once again, does not include video. Does not include video on there. This is Catedra. Let me go ahead and get these all on the same size and weight. So this is regular right here. Not italic, or I mean not, well, yeah, there's not italics, but there's not a variable slider for me to do. So it's gonna be a little bit clunky, but regular, medium, bold, extra bold. You can see this high contrast, the extra bold's getting that, beautiful Didone look on it. What I really liked about this are the different widths. So we've got semi-condensed and we've got condensed. And then of course we've got all the weights for these. So condensed, medium, bold, extra bold, semi-condensed, medium, bold, extra bold. Right now, we're just gonna look at the regular. Actually, I wasn't planning on it, but let's set this in bold. I apologize. Let's set this in bold because I think that's probably how a lot of people are going to want to look at this. High contrast fonts with actual high contrast just feels so much more fitting. So those are all the weights. Those are all the widths. Let's look at an A to Z on this because when you zoom in, you can immediately see first character here, the A, or first glyph rather. You can see that A is doing something really interesting with that leg on the left. I don't know exactly what to call this, but there's a sort of wedge on there where you would typically expect to see, just a thin stroke going all the way down if you were doing a traditional Didone, like a Dido or a Bedoni. So immediately you see this is not going to be your traditional typeface. I like the ball terminals on here, though. I pointed this out last week. I like how crisp the serifs are on here, and I like that combination with the ball terminals. Very intentional negative space on this one, very well thought out. Look how big and chunky these serifs and crossbar serifs are on the E and the F. That's really fun. And then, more traditional thin serif on the G there. So there's an interesting mix. I do feel like the typeface feels cohesive. There's that wedge again that we saw from the A. We're seeing it again on the M and the N. Seeing it on top of the N there too. Interesting. You can see completely vertical stress on this, just 100% up and down. Thins are on the top and bottom. Thicks are on the left and right. There's no axis, no slant, not slant. There's no axis. There's no stress. Entirely balanced. Very nice S here. Serif on the bottom. Ball terminal on the top. This T, I pointed this out last time too. I think this T just feels so authoritative, so strong. Maybe I was pointing that out on a different font. I think maybe I was pointing that out on Gagnure, actually. Again, we're seeing these little wedges added to the V and the U there, as well as the W. And once again, nice use of negative space with this ampersand. I am spending a little bit more time going through this than I did on on timeline because there's just a lot more going on here than there would be on a low contrast sans serif. Look at the wedges here. So we're kind of getting the opposite thing going on with the lowercase, where this stem doesn't go straight down. It's got this nice sharp angle. Seen on the A, the B, we're going to see it on the D here in a second. But it's that combination of those sharp edges mixed with the ball terminals and the balance. There's something really, really nice about this. Just I don't know, just you just feel it. It's hard to describe. There's a vibe to it. And that's how a lot of great art and a lot of great design is. There's not really words to put to it. Look at that R. Wow. The R and the S look great, don't they? Nice scalloped T there. We looked at this last week, how the T's of that, when they have that scalloped top terminal on there, it just looks nicer, especially at small sizes. You don't get those heavy blobs, heavy triangle on there. Even at the lowercase here, we've got those wedges added in. You can see them here. Let's look at the numbers. Ooh, these look really nice too. Yeah, I like that 3 a lot. That's pretty fun. That's almost abstract. So I'm not going to go through the full A to Z on all of these, but just to kind of give you a vibe check on how much space each one is taking up. On the bottom there, we have the regular width. In the middle, we have semi-condensed, and on top, we have condensed. So you can get quite condensed on this, and that's going to be really fun for headlines and stuff like that, to do that real condensed weight, real condensed size, and then play around with the real condensed width. I apologize, and then play around with like a large size and play around with the different weights and stuff. There are also, even at this, version 0.01 future font beta release, there are some ligatures, both discretionary and standard. So our standard ligatures are going to be on top here. We've got the typical, what you would expect, the FF, FL, FI, and you can see the dot there connects to make that nice big one. Interesting how this like loop right here, this kind of like hook inside there with a really beautiful negative space, switches to being straight up and still has great negative space. That looks amazing. I've got the R here because this is the one single alternate that this one has, and it's an alternate leg. There we go. So that one can drop down below the baseline. We see that in fonts like, I don't know, Trajan, some of these older traditional Roman typefaces where the leg of the R can drop down below the baseline. I'm glad that that's an alternate. It's nice that it's there, but I don't think that it needs to be the default by any means. All of these capitals here, last week, I thought that this ligature was ED because I speak English. It's a DE, as in day, or G if you speak Portuguese, but day. And that makes sense when we see these other ones, la, sa. I don't know what the BA would be though. Anyway, let me turn these on so you can see discretionary ligatures. Boom. ED does nothing. I've got that there just to show you that off, or just to show you the difference between the DE and the ED, because I thought this was like an addition, like ED, like shortening ED, like, I don't know. Anyway, it's DE, and I don't know, someone who's like a native Spanish speaker, let me know if you would recognize this as day. Like, I don't know, de la, what would we put here? Like, de la sol. Oh, let's get capitals on here. Would you recognize this word, these words as de la sol? I mean, you could say la sol, maybe in context, but I don't know. Maybe that's a really common ligature though. So someone let me know. I'm dumb. I don't, I took Spanish in high school. I don't remember any of it. But I was interested to see that that actually wasn't an ED ligature. It was a DE. La, that's kind of expected. SA and BA, these are pretty interesting because they're breaking the rules here. And it almost looks like an upside down S, upside down B, because they've really switched where the weight is on these. Here's your default B and your default S. The B already is like quite far out for the top counter there, that top bowl, but it is inside of the top one is less far out. Gosh, the top one is less further right than the bottom one. The weight makes sense, but when you turn on these discretionary ligatures for the uppercase, this, in order to fill that space next to the A there, gets pushed out further than the bottom, which is really interesting and seems to break all the rules. S, same thing here. That S, it gets pushed out, and I don't know. Let me know how you feel about it. I think it's cool in the context of doing this, but it really does feel like the letters are upside down, doesn't it? But yeah, it's fun to fill that space. I've never seen this done. Let me know what you think about it. Last up here, let's see how this looks in body copy. I don't believe this is designed to be a body copy, you know, a text typeface by any means. But do I have this set for regular? I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, this is set in regular. No, this is set in medium actually, because regular was even lighter than medium. So I've got this set in medium. I am playing around with that condensed extra bold up here. So that's nice and tight up there. You know, you could make this even bigger if you wanted to get like a really punchy headline on there. That'll look kind of nice. Let me undo this though so we can see our body copy, since that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, you could get away with this a little bit. It's not ideal though. Maybe the bold would be better. This is the regular. The regular is very weak, it falls apart immediately. The regular does for body copy. Not what this is designed for, so this isn't a knock. I'm just showing you how it looks. The bold does stand out appropriately, but there's no italic on this, so that wouldn't matter either. But once again, not what it's designed for. Don't use it for this. You could get away with literally a sentence, maybe two, but don't stick this in a paragraph. In my opinion, do what you want. Break the rules, have fun. But I don't think this works for body copy, nor was it designed to be body copy. So a little bit shorter here, but there's a little bit less going on compared to a full release, you know, flagship font. But I do think this is a fun one. It's in beta right now on Future Fonts. Catedra from DualType, Jen Ramirez, and like I said, $60 on this one. Gets you all future updates. So right now, this one has 12 styles on it with the 3 widths and the 4 weights, but expect much more to come, I would assume. Yeah, let me get a drink of water, turn on my face, and I'm going to send you off with a couple of videos to go watch after this. Let's see. There's my tiny face. We'll put that on right now. Hello again. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos. I'm going to start out with Noble Signs, because Noble Signs actually popped up twice this week. One from the New York Times and one from It's Nice That. And let me mute these real quick. I do have my desktop muted, but I don't want to get flagged by YouTube. So the first one here is from It's Nice That. And I think this is the one to watch first, because this is a Nicer Tuesday presentation by the co-founder here, David Barnett. And he's kind of talking about what Noble Signs is. Probably many of you already know. If you don't, it's split into kind of like two different things. Noble Signs has the, oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it has a sign museum in New York where they rescue a lot of these old signs, and you can go and look at them, but they also create new ones. So they are creating new signs and building those by hand, and they're doing neons, they're mixing custom paints, they're cutting the letters out, they're bending the wood, you know, they're doing all these things. So really great videos. Please go check out both these if you have time. Add them to your watch later at a minimum. Yeah. The first one I think you should watch is It's Nice That, because he kind of talks about what the business does and gives a little bit more detail about why it exists. The second one here is The Dying Art of Handmade Restaurant Signs, and it's published by New York Times Cooking, which was a little bit of a shock. This one's more like a reality show, like a single episode of a reality show. You know, you meet the characters. You've got the founder here again, co-founder, and then you kind of like you meet the people that work there. You see some of the design process. You see some of the you meet some of the clients, and they're building these signs and putting them up, and like you would expect in like a reality TV show, but it feels more like a reality TV show from like the Discovery Channel or something. Like if you used to watch like Orange County Choppers, whatever that show used to be called, it's more like that, where they're kind of going into the warehouse, talking to the clients, going back and forth. It's really cool. And there's a comment on here saying like, I would watch a full series. I would happily watch 7 seasons of Noble Signs on Bravo. I concur. I would watch a full, series that was just them going around and doing this stuff. Really cool. Obviously, the New York Times has much higher production value. It's not just a camera at a speaking engagement at Nicer Tuesdays, but both of these are really excellent to watch. I do have a takeaway from this one, and I wrote down, and this is something that they said, and I'm summarizing here, but signs that tell you what a place is because they were made by sign makers, not branding and marketing teams, are really interesting. So you go like in Las Vegas, and like I love Las Vegas. If I look at like the old vintage signs there and stuff, there'll just be signs that say like hotel, casino, and then like smaller when you get up there, it'll say like the Golden Nugget or whatever. They were doing the same thing here where it was like pizza really big and then Joe's, or like barbecue really big and then Joe's. But that was one of the things that I thought was interesting, that they point out that there's sort of this like litmus test where right now branding is like tries to be so special that you walk by a place and you don't even know what it is, and they point this out and they say like it gives you this feeling of like exclusiveness where it's like, oh, you don't even know what this place is, don't come in here. Like and I've definitely walked by places like that where I'm like, what is this? Like, is this a coffee shop? Is this a furniture store? Like, what is this place? But when you see a sign that says a giant delicatessen, or you see like these ones here where they're doing like a giant deli and organic sign on here, or meat market, like Sonny's Meat Market, but it's 10th Avenue Meat Market in giant giant letters. There is something interesting about this that feels more I don't know. There's a seed here. There's a seed here, and I haven't let it fully germinate yet, but there's something here. There is, I promise. Please watch these. And the second one here is another interesting one that we've talked, Foundry Studio, that we've talked about several times on the channel, and that is Studio Drama. And I feel kind of dumb because I did not know Studio Drama was a type foundry. I thought they were a branding studio. But I love the interviews that Kraft does, and I apologize, I don't know the woman that leads these interviews. She's an excellent interviewer, though. I think I've shouted her out before on here, but there she is, right? That's not her. She's here somewhere. There she is right there. There's all three of them right there. This is Studio Drama, and this is a really interesting conversation about a foundry that creates brand typefaces, and they're actually kind of teased that they're going to be looking into releasing retail typefaces. Right now, they're basically like a foundry that creates custom fonts for brands. It was a really great conversation, and I've long been a fan of Studio Drama, so it doesn't look like there's too many examples on here. Mostly, you could listen to this on audio, which is great because that's what I did when I was walking to the gym. But yeah, Studio Drama with Kraft, great, excellent interview, and I learned a lot. Primarily, I learned that they are consider themselves a type foundry and not a branding studio. So that was a revelation. Okay, that's going to be it. I think we had a good episode here. I feel like I feel like there was a lot of interesting stuff. These were stories that I was interested in. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully the pacing was better. I know sometimes I drag things on. I tried to move through things quickly today, and I tried to be much more prepared. So hopefully all of that, I'm looking over here so I can kind of turn off the screen in a second. Hopefully all of that was evident, and per usual, for the last 2 weeks, FontBase is the sponsor for this month. So once again, shout out to FontBase. I really appreciate the sponsorship, and yeah, I have been Curtis Simpson. This was Typography News number 63. I will see you guys next Sunday for episode number 64. Have a good week. Bye.